More than 3 million tonnes of soya are being imported into the UK every year. Huge amount of that coming from South America. It's coming from deforested land and creating grave unsustainability, contributing to those crises that we face of climate, biodiversity loss and pollution. Something needs to be done to stop that.
Sometimes the sort of central role of farmers and of feed companies haven't necessarily been as central into those negotiations around how to eradicate deforestation from UK soy supply chains. And given the role that feed companies and farmers play, I think it's really important moving forward that they play much more of a central role in those negotiations.
Let's move away from importing soya from Latin America, from deforested areas, and replace it with homegrown pulses that are part of mixed rotational farming that helps to replenish the soil, helps to give us more climate resilience, and essentially creates a better farming system and better food for our consumers.
There are a lot of complexities, and I think it's going to take lots of different actors within the supply chain to be able to overcome the challenge. By asking downstream actors, the feed companies and the farmers and the retailers, to put more pressure and demand more data and traceability from those traders, we can start to really pinpoint where deforestation cases are happening and then eradicate them from the supply chain.
Our biggest source of emission is soya and soy oil. It's imported ingredients. And that accounts for 82% of the emissions on farm. So I think that what I've learned from my involvement with NCS and what we're seeing is that it is entirely feasible and straightforward for us to grow homegrown protein fava beans in the UK, process them into feed and feed them to poultry. We've done that on our own farm in microcosm. We've converted part of our farm to producing our own protein. So what do we need? We need to have clear signals from the retailers that they would like to see a proportion of homegrown protein in the diets that are fed to poultry and pigs. It doesn't have to be massive, it doesn't have to be right now, but it has to be a clear signal, it has to be maintained, and it can grow in the future.
We're looking at the effect of the bean crop in a crop rotational context. We're looking at the impact on barley, and we found that fava beans before barley decreased the environmental impact of growing the second crop quite considerably. And that wasn't simply due to fertiliser offset, so there was reduced fertiliser use in the following crop, but there was also a yield uplift of about on average 1.3 tonnes per hectare to the barley that followed, and that seemed not simply due to nitrogen, it was probably due to other soil effects as well. So to me that was incredibly interesting. Having a good bean crop, the best crop you can grow, means that your environmental impact can be even lower with that improvement.
We looked at nutrition and analysed the crop in a sort of the peak season running up to flowering. So it's very much up to us to drive it, and I felt if we're going to do this, we'll, in our own interest, we'll make it work really. We saw a very marginal increase in yield. It's not a scientific or statistically significant, but on the yield map we could clearly see a slight upturn. So it's 1 year's data. The difficulty with beans is replicating that.
The willingness from farmers, and there were quite a few farmers in the room as well as panellists, etc., the willingness of them to adopt, they just want assurance that there's a market for what they can produce. And we've got to somehow break this vicious circle of the market saying there isn't enough supply, and the people who can potentially supply saying we're not really sure we can trust the market. Something's got to break that, and maybe there's an opportunity for a little policy tweak there that would enable that circle to be broken. For me, what was disappointing was that we didn't manage to attract any of the retailers. I would encourage them to look at the video snippets that are going to be out from this year to make up their own mind about what they missed, and to realise that actually we'll be 3 years into the project then, and it can only be delivering more outcomes and from what we've seen so far, compounding the positive nature of the message.
What I was just staggered by was the enthusiasm in the room, you know, the contributions that everyone made. We had such a diverse range of people in the room, and they all made contributions from their own different sectors, their own different points of view about where they sit and where they'd like to go. And it all built into this wonderful collaborative feeling of where we want to go. There were some people who weren't in the room, and we need to bring them into the conversation over the next year and bring them to the conference to Soya to Sustainability in 2026. We're getting the figures, the numbers, the science to show that what we're doing is really making a positive benefit to farming. And if we can roll that out across the rest of the country, if we can give farmers the same confidence in growing peas and beans that our farmers with our Pulse Pioneers are now getting through the data that they're receiving through the project, then we are really going to make that difference that Philip and Gemma want to see on farm.